The Jack the Ripper Murders, 1888. In the autumn of 1888, the fog-choked streets of London's East End bore witness to a string of murders so brutal, so baffling, that they would go on to haunt the collective imagination of generations. These crimes weren't just heinous, they were the first to receive worldwide media attention. Newspapers across Europe and North America printed lurid headlines, public fear turned into obsession, and the identity of the killer, cloaked in mystery, would forever be associated with one name: Jack the Ripper. The murderer was never caught. His victims, poor, often homeless women living on society's fringes, were found mutilated in the shadowy alleys of Whitechapel. Their bodies bore the signature of a methodical and sadistic killer who struck quickly, silently, and with chilling precision. To truly understand the horror of these events, we must understand the setting in which they occurred. Victorian London was a city split in two. The West End radiated opulence, grand theaters, gas-lit avenues, and the growing comforts of modernity. But in the East End, particularly in Whitechapel, life was a grim struggle for survival. This district was a melting pot of immigrant communities, dock laborers, street vendors, and the destitute. Over 80,000 people crammed into a squalid maze of tenements and alleyways. Sanitation was virtually non-existent. Alcoholism was rampant. Many women, abandoned by husbands or orphaned by poverty, turned to prostitution to afford a night in a lodging house. Between August and November of 1888, 5 women were brutally murdered in Whitechapel: Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly. These 5 are believed to be the Ripper's confirmed victims, often referred to by historians as the canonical 5. Each woman was murdered during the early hours, often just minutes after last being seen alive. Most had their throats savagely slit and their bodies grotesquely mutilated. In several cases, organs such as the uterus, kidney, or heart were carefully removed, suggesting the killer may have had anatomical knowledge, perhaps as a butcher, a medical student, or a surgeon. Mary Ann Nichols, the first known victim, was discovered on August 31st in Bucks Row. Her throat had been slashed twice, her abdomen ripped open with deep, jagged cuts. Just 8 days later, Annie Chapman's body was found behind a boarding house on Hanbury Street. Her uterus had been surgically removed. Then came what the press would call the double event. On September 30th, Elizabeth Stride was killed, but not mutilated. Many believe the killer was interrupted. Less than an hour later, Catherine Eddowes was found in Mitre Square, her face and abdomen grotesquely slashed, with her left kidney and part of her womb taken. The final known victim, Mary Jane Kelly, was murdered on November 9th. Unlike the others, she was killed indoors. The killer had time, privacy, and an unnerving sense of control. The murders paralyzed the city with fear. Crowds gathered outside crime scenes. Newspapers published graphic illustrations, and the public demanded answers. Scotland Yard and the City of London Police launched one of the largest investigations in British history. Over 2,000 people were interviewed, more than 300 were formally investigated, and upwards of 80 were detained. But no one was charged. The investigation was hampered by a lack of coordination between jurisdictions, widespread public panic, and the limitations of 19th century forensic science. Fingerprinting was not yet in use. Blood typing was decades away. There were no surveillance tools, no modern forensics, only lantern light and guesswork. During the investigation, hundreds of letters flooded in, some obvious hoaxes, others more disturbing. One infamous note, beginning with "Dear Boss" and signed Jack the Ripper, helped cement the killer's nickname in history. Another, the chilling "From Hell" letter, arrived with half a human kidney, supposedly from a victim. Whether genuine or not, the letters escalated public hysteria and deepened the mystery. Over the years, more than 130 suspects have been named, from troubled barrister Montague John Druitt to asylum patient Aaron Kosminski to eccentric American doctor Francis Tumblety. Even royalty and famous artists have been dragged into the theories. Modern attempts to solve the case using DNA analysis and forensic psychology have yielded speculation, but no conclusive answers. More than a century later, the shadow of Jack the Ripper still looms. His crimes not only shocked Victorian society, but helped shape modern criminology and public consciousness around serial murder. The identity of the killer may forever remain unknown, but his legacy, etched into the alleys of Whitechapel, remains chillingly alive, a ghostly reminder of a dark chapter in human history.